Hello everyone, and it's time for another 1cc commentary. This time I have Ketsui again, but this time it's a different mode. The IKD 2007 special mode, which you can find on the M2 Shot Triggers port. I was able to dig across the internet and find that somebody actually also extracted the ROM of this version and dumped it online, so you can also play it with an emulator. It took me a while of digging the internet to find that, but yeah, so you can play this mode either on the M2 port or playing it on emulator. And I've got to say, this mode is absolutely underrated because not many people have played this mode from what I've seen. This mode, it's actually a DLC that you have to pay for, so it's not unlocked by default. So perhaps because of that, a lot of people may not have played it because of that. But if you do have the M2 port of this game, I would highly recommend actually buying this DLC and playing this mode because I think it's really good. The reason why I even found this mode, and I'll talk a bit more about it in a second, but you'll see the main thing if you see on the gadget section on the left, there's a section where it says right now it says 1-up extend OK, and it has the number of 5 chips and number of 1 chips. So basically what happens is you need to get more 5 chips than 1 chips within each level, and that will allow you to get an extra life at the end of that level. So basically it gives you ways to get 4 extra lives by doing that in stages 1, 2, 3, 4. You can't do it in stage 5 because that's the final stage, obviously. But yeah, so in stages 1, 2, and 3 and 4, you can if you are able to do that successfully, more 5 chips than 1 chips, then you will get an extra life. And you'll see the other thing that they do is if you look at the chip radar gadget on the left, the 4, 3, and the 2 chips, the range for those has been shrunk to be really small. So basically there's a big range for getting the 1 chip. There's a range that's close up for getting the 5 chip. And the range for the other, like 2, 3, and 4, has become very small. So you usually don't really get those, so you can still get them. So that's what they've done. Now, in this mode, the other big thing, of course, is it has quite a few second loop patterns in it. So you'll already seen that. I've been paying attention to stage 1. So there's quite a lot of second loop patterns, including for all the bosses. All of the bosses have more difficult patterns that are kind of taken from the normal second loop, I believe. And you also fight the TLB at the end of Doom at the end. So it's actually it's an interesting survival mode, but it combines this elements of score play. And the only reason why I found this mode is because when I had done my original 1cc and I posted it on Reddit, and somebody responded to me and said that recommended me to check out this mode because I was looking for like a way to take the game further, but maybe without having to go into the second loop, because going into the second loop is quite daunting. It's adds a lot to it's more difficult to get into because it's like you have to spend probably a lot more time kind of resetting, like being stuck in the first loop before you can even play the second loop right. So it feels like you'd need a lot of resets and you just take longer and more friction to get into, I'd say. Whereas this is like a single loop mode, but still gives you a significant, step up in the challenge. Gives you an incentive to learn the more difficult patterns that are in here. Gives you an incentive to also learn the TLB, which of course is really interesting and cool, and I'll obviously speak more about that later. And gives you an excuse to kind of learn the scoring as well, because you need to learn the scoring system so that you can get all these extra lives that this mode offers you, that you're really going to want for this to be able to survive it. So yeah, I mean, this has actually been, because of this mode, given me the impetus to learn all those things and to learn the scoring. This is actually the first shmup where I've really learned any actual scoring to it. The other ones like Diojo, Ikaruga, these other ones I've played before, and Ketsui itself, I was just playing it for pure survival. And in the normal modes, you don't really need to do much of any scoring, maybe just a very small amount. So I didn't even really understand the score. I did not until I played this mode. Even though I'd already gotten the standard 1cc, I did not know really how the scoring system worked. I had the basic idea of how it worked, but I was pretty much totally ignoring it. I didn't have a feel for it at all. Once I started playing this mode, which gave me the impetus to start learning this scoring system and to be able to get those 5 chips and get the extra lives and everything, I gotta say it's really like satisfying and addicting. The scoring system in this game, it's very satisfying. It adds a whole other dimension. Just getting the 5 chips, it feels like really satisfying to pull off, and adds a whole other layer dimension to your routing and everything. So I've really enjoyed everything about this mode. I think that's why I'm saying this mode is so underrated, because it really is like such a cool way to play the game in a one loop, environment, with the TLB, with a step up in difficulty of the patterns and everything, with an incentive to do the scoring for your survival purposes as well, right? And so it has all these elements to it. I actually think this is a really cool mode. It's really good in my opinion. So I'd highly recommend checking out and playing this mode. But yeah, it definitely is a step up in difficulty. It took me quite a while to do this. In fact, at the very beginning, you might have seen on my list of replays before I loaded up this replay, I had a bunch of failed runs that you would have seen there. I had a bunch of failed runs that got to Doom. This one was the one that pulled through, and it was a really good run. Now, the other thing is you get a lot less bombs in this mode. That's another way how the difficulty is ramped up. Normally you get 3 bombs per life, but in this mode you only get 1 bomb per life. So you have to be a bit more careful, a bit more tactical with your bombs. You need to, I had to definitely take a big step up in my entire gameplay. I had to, go over every level and kind of like relearn every level, and really try to iron out any areas where I was dying stupidly, or any areas that maybe I would have bombed previously, but I was like, I don't have as many bombs now, so really I want to be able to do everything as much as possible without bombing. You also just have less leniency in this mode as a whole, because even though you can get all those extra lives, so in terms of the extra lives, so you start with 2 lives, and then like I say, there's those 4 extras that you can get, that I mentioned from getting the 5 chips. So that brings you up to 6. But you can still also get the other lives that you normally get in the normal mode. So there's the 2 hidden extends that you can also get, and the 2 scoring extends that are in the standard mode. You get those as well. So in theory, that brings you up to a total of 10 lives, which sounds like a lot, which it kind of is. But you also kind of need them for especially for the TLB and everything. But you actually can't get up to 10. Like you'll hit a cap at 8. So let's say you're at 8 lives, but then you get an extra one. It will just keep you capped at 8. So you can't actually go all the way up to 9 or 10. It will cap you at 8 as a maximum if you already have that. Now we're coming here into stage 3 boss. This one is made significantly more difficult in this more difficult pattern that it has, like the second loop pattern it has here. So I was always bombing here. So right there, I use a bomb. So I would always bomb at least once on this boss. Makes it significantly easier. So I still had a few areas where it's like, yeah, I'm definitely gonna bomb here. The bosses, you always will get a bomb drop at the start of the boss anyway. So you always know you'll have at least 1 bomb available for the boss. Yeah, I died stupidly right there, and that totally threw me off. So I think right here I just get totally thrown off, like because I'm totally like off my route. I just kind of start flailing about right here, not really sure what to do, and I think I just bombed there because that maybe was unnecessary, but I just bombed because I'm not really sure how else to recover that. But fortunately I recovered that, and so now in this run I've taken, I believe, just one death thus far. But that's fine because I can recover all these lives, up until that maximum of 8 that I mentioned earlier. So you can certainly afford in the early game to take at least 1 death. I mean, really, you can take two deaths and within the early game and still like get up to the maximum of 8 by the final within the final level, if you see what I mean. But yeah, so there is a decent amount of leniency, so it's not like super hard, but it's definitely significantly more hard and less lenient than just getting a normal 1-all. Particularly because of just the fact that you have to do Doom at the end, who is going to probably take a significant amount of lives from you. Now, the other thing is, so for this mode, obviously I had to learn... actually, a little bit, before I say that, a little bit about this level. So this level, 1, 2, and 3, they're not so bad to get the... when you learn how to do it, not so bad to be able to get the... enough 5 chips to be able to get the extra life. This one I was struggling with quite a bit though. Like I struggled for a while to figure out how to do this level well enough to get the extra life with the 5 chips. But I'll give you a bit of a tip for that in a moment here. That I figured out when I figured this out after this boss. I'll give you a bit of a tip for that, which when I figured out totally made it way easier for this level. So this boss, yeah, I'm doing a certain strat here, where I'm delaying. I'm not always attacking him. I'm delaying my attacks in a certain way, such that I skip his most difficult phase or most of it. So this mini boss is pretty consistent when you learn how to do it. I would usually be able to do this with no bombs. Not that I have the option right now, because again in this mode you'll probably often find yourself in situations where you don't have any bombs available, because like I say, you only get 1 bomb per life. Anyway, killed the mini boss there. Another thing is, I tried playing as Panzer a lot. Actually, I was thinking at first that I was going to do Panzer for this mode. But after that's another thing. Oh yeah. So right here, to my little tip I was going to give. So you have here these guys. What are they? I think they might be called Landmasters or something like that. The Landmasters. See right here, I'm going to kill all these with my shot and not the laser. Because if I kill them with the laser, I'm going to get a bunch of 1 chips from that. So you'd usually accumulate tons of 1 chips there. But if you kill it with the shot, you just get a single 1 chip. And obviously you want to minimize the amount of 1 chips you get. So same ones of those there. You want to obviously minimize the amount of 1 chips that you get, so you have more 5 than 1 to get the extra life. And that is one big, just that section right there, killing those Landmasters with the shot instead of the laser. Helps a lot with that. When I figured that out, it suddenly became way easier for me to be able to get the extra life in this level. So highly recommend doing that. But yeah, where was I at with that? Oh yeah, so I was going to say Panzer. I was highly considering to use Panzer. Actually, I was planning to use Panzer at first. And there's a lot of nice things about using Panzer. Panzer is way faster than Tiger, much faster. It's kind of crazy when you switch back and forth. Like when you used to play in Tiger and then you switch to Panzer, it's like, Jesus, it's so fast, right? But I was thinking I was going to do that. But after I experimented more and more, I ultimately determined that I was more comfortable with Tiger. I felt that with Panzer, because he doesn't have the wide shot, that I would just die to random things, right? Normally, there's a lot of things in the game that you're kind of more worried, like the obvious danger zones that you're worried to die at. This boss is a prime example. This boss, I had a lot of trouble with this boss. I had to practice this boss quite a lot, and I still should probably have a lot of room for improvement on this boss. But yeah, so many ways to die on this boss. This pattern right here, this is a very difficult pattern. So, like sometimes it's just more lenient than other times. But I mean, this pattern, I'm sure it's significantly easier with Panzer because he's faster, and being faster would help significantly with that pattern. This pattern right here, I just bomb it. That one is pretty brutal, so I just bomb that one by default. But yeah, I mean, after experimenting a lot, there's a lot of areas where you're kind of expecting to take deaths, such as especially on these, like on this boss, let's say, the problematic areas of the game. But I felt that when I was playing with Panzer, I found myself just dying at random situations a lot more. But I think just because he doesn't have the wide shot, Panzer, you would find yourself in a lot of situations where, this one is, I almost survived this, but I just died at the end. That's very hard to do without bombing. I would have used a bomb on that if I had one available. But yeah, with Panzer, I just found myself, I guess because he doesn't have the wide shot, there would be many occasions where like just some random enemy, you know, some random popcorn enemy that I just was accidentally left alive would kill me and stuff like that. So ultimately I settled more on using Tiger. Tiger is my preference overall right now. If I come back to the second loop play, which I know has revenge bullets, which this mode doesn't have, then maybe the increased speed from Panzer will be even better. So I'm still open to using Panzer in the future if I ever go to the second loop. I'm not too sure. I've gone back and forth a lot. With Tiger and Panzer, but I ultimately settled on Tiger being preferable to me. It just seemed I would just play better, you know, and take less stupid deaths with Tiger. But I'm still open to experimenting with that more. Now come to stage 5 here. This is all the make and break. You'll see I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 7 lives there, and I can still get the one extra bonus life coming up soon here. So then I'll have 8, which is, as I say, the maximum you can have at one time. So really, even though in this run I have taken 2 deaths earlier, it's basically as soon as I get this next hidden extend that I'm about to get in a moment here, it will basically be as if those deaths never happened, right? Because I'll still be hitting that maximum of 8 lives. So that is nice in terms of it gives you some leniency there. But it's still difficult to get a run to this point where you'll have all of the 8 lives. And those lives can certainly be burned through in stage 5 and with, you know, evaccaneer and with Doom. So I had quite a few runs get to stage 5 and get to Doom. But normally I would get to Doom. I had a lot of runs that would just get to Doom with just like, I had a few runs that just got to Doom with 1 life, and it's just not going to be enough to beat Doom. I'm sure I had another run that had, you know, 2 lives. I had a few runs that got to Doom with 3 lives. I had one run that got to Doom with 4 lives, and 4 lives is definitely doable, getting to Doom. But it's a bit, you know, it's definitely not guaranteed, right? Like 4 lives at Doom, the TLB, definitely doable. You have a good shot, but it's not guaranteed. It's certainly not guaranteed. Even 3 lives, if it went really well, you could make it happen. But I'll talk a bit more about Doom when I get there. But I really like this stage 5. I really like hammered the practice for this stage a lot to make sure I could do it really well. And you know, I practiced it until I did it no miss no bomb at least once. I might have done it a few times, I can't remember exactly, but I definitely did a no miss no bomb of the stage, just the stage itself, you know, not including the boss. There I used a bomb. I may have not needed to use it, but I had it available, and that section is an easy section to die at, so I was like, you know, I'm just going to use the bomb there and make sure I keep surviving for longer. Another thing I did, as I had to level up my gameplay a lot to be able to do this mode, I just scoured a lot more replays. This is a thing you always have to do, just look up replays of other players. You'll never know when some guy will just have some strat that really helps you out, that nobody else seems to know about or nobody else you see doing. And right here, you're about to see an example of that. You see this enemy. I do a certain strat. You see, I come up, I pull up right here, and I avoid by coming up to the top half of the screen during the latter half of his pattern there. It makes it much easier. And that, if you take, that was a really good reference execution of that elevator section. And that particular strat, I believe I took it from one of some Japanese player that I saw, and that was a really useful strat for me. So sometimes I would just see, oh, right here as well, this Landmaster section, what I do here is I kill 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the 5th one. Then I switch to the shot and come out, clear out the right, and then I come here and kill that one with the shot. That killing 5 and then doing that whole strat that I just did there, I believe I also found that from some Japanese players' replay, and that was the strat that made me really get that consistent as well. So just by scouring a lot of replays, I was just able to find some strats. Those 2 that I just pointed out, maybe the most useful that I found that weren't immediately apparent, that really helped me out a lot for those sections. Now we come here. Now we have this final panzer section of all these panzers. This was also a thing I practiced quite a lot until I started to get good at it. But now I found it to be not so bad, actually. If you, right there, those last two, I got the lock on both of them. That went really well. This went really, really well. This was a great stage 5. This was a no-death stage 5, except I used the one bomb earlier. So that was really, really good. But I practiced this stage 5 a lot. I just had some hours of just doing it over and over and over and over again. But it was fun to do, a really fun stage. Now we come here to Doom, or not to Doom, to evaccaneer. I use my bomb there to skip most of that pattern. And then this is going to go pretty damn well as well. So that's not too bad. This one's not too bad. This one is tricky. I practiced this one quite a bit though, and it goes according to plan here. This whole thing that I just did, if you take as a reference everything I just did there, that is a really good strat. But I think I've come across some scenarios where it doesn't work though. A lot of the time it does work, but you might have to figure out some adjustments for other possibilities of randomization of the pattern there. I need to work on that one more to get it fully consistent. But yeah, that went well there for me. I took one death there, but that's fine. I know I have plenty of lives now, so I know that this is easily, out of all my attempts, the most lives I've ever had at this point, about to get to the TLB. Use a bomb there, hoping that it's gonna kill a evaccaneer and bring me down to the TLB. Unfortunately, it just doesn't quite, so I'll take one more death. But still, now we're at the TLB. Now we're at Doom, and I have 6 lives. This is the most I've ever got here before. I know that I should have it in the bag as long as I don't do anything dumb. That first pattern, I just bomb through it, because even though you can't really do much of any damage to him, I don't think, whilst bombing him, that pattern sucks and is quite randomized, and it's like, you know what, just bomb it. This one right here, I can usually almost avoid that one, but I just misread it there. I think I was just caught up. I was a bit nervous. I just misread that pattern. I'd usually be able to avoid that consistently. Now he starts doing this one again, but I'm able to avoid this one quite nicely. I'm not sure if it's like placebo effects, but I feel like that second time he does it is a bit easier than the first time. And now we come to the infamous second phase, and I practice this a lot, and just look at this thing of beauty right here. Boom, boom, boom. Really, really well done there. That is way harder than it looks. And then I am still this bit as well. Yeah, really nicely. That was perfectly done. No bomb right there. Really nicely done. I'm really proud of that, actually. When I was first learning how to do that, it took me a long time to be able to pass what was going on the screen at all. That's really tricky. I could definitely improve at it. I still definitely need to practice it more to improve at it further, but that second phase, like at first it's just so overwhelming just visually to even pass what's going on. It took me a lot of just save state practice to be able to start getting a hang of it, but eventually it just started to click, and I can do it with decent rate of consistency now. But now I'm on the final phase, and I know I just had plenty of lives here, so I know it's totally fine for me. It's in the bag. I have 2 lives remaining by the end and 1 bomb. Really, really good run. I've got to say, this was pretty much the best run I could have asked for. That stage 5 went so well for me. All of it, especially just that Doom fight, even though that Doom fight certainly wasn't perfect. I had 1 stupid death on it as well. But to be able to pull that off, I was really proud, actually, of pulling that off in the second phase. Doing the second phase perfectly there with no bomb. I was really happy with that. Because like I say, that took a lot of practice. I remember like there was a time when I was practicing it, I felt for a while that was going to be just like impossible, that I just couldn't pass what was going on the screen. But eventually it started to click with me. And yeah, what can I say? Thank you to the guy who recommended me this. I believe his name was Snoopy on Reddit, who recommended me this mode. Maybe he's watching this, and if he is, yeah, thank you to you for recommending me this mode, because I've had a lot of fun playing it, and I think that the whole structure of it and the interplay between the survival and the scoring and all that is like super interesting. Honestly, one of my favorite modes that I've ever played. I had some frustrations playing it as well. I had some moments of rage and anger going for this, because this was the biggest grind I've ever done. Like, this took me a while. This I had to just sit down and do a lot of attempts, and I had a lot of failures before I managed to get this one. So this has been the biggest grind of anything I've done so far in shmup. This has been the hardest mode I've tackled for a 1cc. But overall, I really enjoyed this a lot. And where I'm going to go from here with this game, so yeah, I would highly recommend this. I would really recommend to Ketsui players to check out this mode. I think it's underrated, as I mentioned at the beginning. And I feel like from playing this mode, my level at the game increased a lot. Definitely increased a lot, compared to just getting the standard 1cc. So yeah, Ketsui, it's really good. I've mentioned in my previous, for my original standard 1cc, I mentioned how much I like this game. And now for the next steps with it, I think the second loop, the omote loop and the aura loop and all that is definitely tempting to me. But I think I'm gonna take a step. I think this is a good place to put this game on a pause. I'll probably go to another game for now, and go to something a bit easier, another standard 1cc or something. That's what I'm thinking. But maybe one day with the omote or the aura loop, who knows. But thanks for watching, everyone, and goodbye.